In the center of the endless Pacific Ocean, where waves flow uninterrupted for thousands of kilometers, one piece of stone rises above the level of the Eiffel Tower. Far away, broken and shrouded in tempestuous seas, Baal's pyramid has long terrified as inaccessible. For centuries it remained untouched, its black walls warding off even the most daring sailors. But a few adventurers braved its vertical face, eager to discover its secrets. But halfway up, something occurred that chilled them to the bone. Was it the cliff itself, the sea beneath, or something living that was attached to the cliffs? What they met turned a climb into a spine-tingling tale of survival. If this kind of story touches your heart, if you're someone who cares about truth, responsibility, and speaking up for the voiceless, please like this video, subscribe to our channel and share it with someone who should hear it. Let's get started. Standing tall and bare from the center of the Pacific, Baal's pyramid appears less a part of our reality than something drawn from a dream, or a nightmare. A lone shard of basalt, it rises from dark blue depths like the fin of some fossil creature, its rough edge frequently obscured by haze. Standing 562 meters, 1,840 feet, tall, it is the world's tallest sea-stack volcano, a natural skyscraper that looms higher than the Eiffel Tower. And yet its foundation is only about 300 meters wide, so thin that when seen from afar it appears virtually two-dimensional, like the blade of a knife lying along the horizon. The pyramid is situated 643 kilometers northeast of Sydney, within Australia's Lord Howe Island Marine Park. Remote and savage, it is ringed with seas that drop over 2,000 meters deep. Softened by reefs or sandbars like islands, Baal's pyramid welcomes no gentle slope. Waves conceived in the vast South Pacific crash boldly against its sides, curling over the rock and boiling together in furious spurts. Few boats venture near more than 30 to 50 meters, and even then, commanders anxiously observe as swells risk crashing them against the cliffs. The spire itself is the weathered remains of a shield volcano, ground down by millennia of storms and waves to leave only its basalt core standing. A huge volcanic island in the past, it has been eroded to this thin spire, time itself carving out a testament to resilience. Its cliffs are vertical, its crests shifting and unstable, and its sparse ledges sticky with guano and barnacles. There are no roots of soil, no haven of beaches, only dark walls vertical out of the sea. In 1788, after a voyage to Norfolk Island with convicts, Royal Navy Lieutenant Henry Ligebird Ball was the first European to document its presence. From the deck of his vessel, he saw the peculiar spire and recorded it in his logbook, forever attaching his name to the isolated rock. But Ball made no attempt at landing. One look at its cliffs and the huge waves pounding its flanks was warning enough. Baal's pyramid shrieked that it was unfriendly to men. For almost 100 years, it was left alone, familiar only as a mysterious shape on charts and in the stories of sailors. Legends that circulated about it only made it more mysterious. Sailors testified that waves reached so high that sprays soaked their decks even at hundreds of meters distance. They described seabirds breeding in such quantities that their calls resounded across the water like an angry chorus. Others spoke of strange lights flickering in stormy weather, glittering reflections in the surf that seemed to animate the spire. With no one to contradict or support these stories, Baal's pyramid became a legend, a ghost island on the Pacific horizon. No one dared get close for decades. Then, in 1882, Henry Charles Wilkinson, a geologist with New South Wales Department of Mines, set out to verify the legends. On board the survey ship Comet, he and 4 men paddled a dinghy across screaming swells, counting strokes through vertical walls of water. When they arrived at the cliffs, the rock was impossibly smooth, slicked with spray and barnacles. In desperate leaps, they emerged onto a thin ledge and hauled their dinghy to safety. For the first time in recorded history, human feet were on Baal's pyramid. But victory was brief. In 2 hours, the weather shifted. Winds whipped the ocean into a frenzy, and men struggled to escape, rowing desperately out to open water. Nonetheless, Wilkinson's expedition uncovered something important: Baal's pyramid was more than an oddity. Its samples identified it as the basalt core of a long-lost shield volcano, a geological wonder millions of years old. It was the first break in the pyramid's secret, but its risks left it untouched for decades more. For almost 80 years, no one else dared to tread the spire. Ships passing by wrote of its ghostly outline, the thunder of waves booming like thunder through caverns, seagulls turning and turning overhead. It had become a sign of the unattainable. But by the 20th century, climbing equipment was improving. Ropes became stronger, anchors more trustworthy, and a new generation of climbers craved impossible ascents. In 1964, Dick Smith, later an Australian household name, led an expedition to try the top. They fought surf to shore, hauled equipment into a narrow sea cave, and set out to climb. But the rock betrayed them, weathered basalt crumbled away, anchors pulled out, and advance crept along at a glacial pace. They slept in soggy caves, waves booming nearby enough to shutter their refuge. Defeated but unbowed, after days of tussle, they withdrew. Their effort established one thing: Ball's Pyramid was not impossible. The next year, in 1965, climber Bryden Allen organized a well-planned team. They ascended with 600 meters of rope, car batteries for radio communication, and the will to advance where others had retreated. Climbing the dangerous southwest ridge, they anchored ropes, edged along knife-edged ridges, and struggled against crumbling rock. On February 14, Valentine's Day, Allen and his team reached the top. For the first time, humans occupied the summit of Ball's Pyramid. The ascent was vicious, the descent worse, but they succeeded. The pyramid had been beaten, but at a dreadful price. The 1965 climb ignited fixation. Climbers returned soon, each chasing new lines. Keith Bell and John Worrell climbed razor-thin West Ridge in 1970, dodging crumbling spires and storms. They made it, furthering the spire's mythology. In 1979, Dick Smith returned again and reached the top, this time implanting a new South Wales Prime Minister's flag, symbolically claiming the pyramid for Australia. But by the 1980s the risks became apparent. The rock was loose, waves cruel, rescues almost impossible. Helicopters were blown aside by ferocious gusts. Boats risked being smashed against the cliffs. The spire was climbed, yes, but at great risk. The New South Wales government prohibited recreational climbing on Ball's Pyramid in 1986. It was the result of both safety and ecological concerns. Scientists were increasingly discovering that the spire's remoteness made it more than a mountaineering feat, it was a sanctuary. Seabirds made their nests on its ledges, vegetation clung to crevices, and delicate ecosystems existed, unvisited by man. Permitted scientists were the only ones allowed to land for years. And then, in 2001, a group of people hunting for evidence of the Lord Howe Island stick insect made an appalling find. Nicknamed the tree lobster, this insect had been officially extinct since the 1920s, decimated on Lord Howe Island by feral rats. But on top of Ball's Pyramid, among some scrub stuck into cracks in the basalt, they discovered survivors. Almost 24 of the colossal insects, black, shiny, and to 15 centimeters long, were alive. A miracle. The species had held on for virtually 8 decades on this impossible spire, battling storms, seabirds, and solitude. The find shocked the scientific community and turned Ball's Pyramid from a climber's holy grail to a conservation gem. Today, Ball's Pyramid is not only the world's highest sea stack, but a living monument. Seabirds such as Providence petrels and masked boobies wing overhead, their calls crying out across the sea. Resilient shrubs bind to crevices, tinging the basalt with surprising green. And, concealed in the foliage, the offspring of the Lord Howe Island stick insect perpetuate their unlikely existence, fed by captive breeding programs that now hold promise for their return to their native habitat. Mountaineering is still prohibited, although for exceptional scientific missions. Birds are now monitored by drones and research groups step with caution when permitted. Ball's Pyramid has changed its connotation, no longer a summit to be overcome, but a haven to be revered. To 18th and 19th century sailors, Ball's Pyramid had been a threat, a shard of stone protruding from the ocean, ringing with sea birds and radiating an otherworldly light in storms. To 20th-century climbers, it was a challenge, a virtual impossibility that tested bravery and technique. Now, in the 21st century, it has become more, a final sanctuary, where life clings on against all odds. Wonder and fear exist alongside one another here. Fear in the crashing seas, the eroded cliffs, the turbulent gusts that preclude rescue. Wonder at the persistence of life, at seagulls breeding where there is no earth, at the miraculous survival of an insect believed to be lost forever. Baal's pyramid is not somewhere to be conquered. It is somewhere to be revered, a natural cathedral where geology meets biology, where survival is the greatest tale. It reminds us that the planet still has secrets, that some locations remain unflagged, and that life can flourish on the most inhospitable corners of the planet. So what did the explorers actually experience halfway up that rugged spire? Fear of the emptiness below, wonder at the infinite blue stretching out in every direction, and the haunting sense that they were ascending not only a rock, but a living testament to perseverance. And that, maybe, is Baal's pyramid's best-kept secret, not survival, but the revelation that some marvels are not to be overcome at all.